The bottom line is when you're in better mental and physical health, that will translate into better customer relationships, and also people, a lot of people talk about the law of attraction. That's a real thing. When you send out positive feelings and you come across as a positive person, people do tend to be attracted to you. And, that is good on a personal level, but it's very good professionally.
You're listening to The Successful Bookkeeper with your host, Michael Palmer. Listen each week as inspiring guests share their secrets of success to help you increase your confidence, work smarter, and build a business you love. This episode of The Successful Bookkeeper is brought to you by PureBookkeeping.com, the proven system to grow your bookkeeping business.
Welcome back to the Successful Bookkeeper Podcast. I am your host, Michael Palmer, and today's show is going to be a great one. Our guest is the owner of Ready Books and Consulting Limited and is a big health and fitness fan. Crystal Reddy, welcome to the show.
Hi, everybody. It's a pleasure to be here. Michael, thanks for having me on the show.
Yeah, it's great to have you. And we met down in California, beautiful California, at QuickBooks San Jose, and it was really nice meeting you, and I loved your energy and your passion for the industry and passion for being healthy in the industry as well. So it's good to finally have this conversation.
Oh, totally. And so important right now in view of everything going on in the world.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a good time to be thinking about our health, that is for sure. But before we get into all of this, Crystal, please tell us a little bit about you, your career journey leading up to this point.
Well, I never thought I would ever start a professional bookkeeping and accounting firm, but here I am. And we have 5 staff members. I've been in business doing my own thing since 2010. And basically, we deal with day-to-day bookkeeping. We deal with small business consulting as well as some tax work. And I had a person convince me I could do my own business, and I kept saying, no, I'm a good employee. And then I just decided to jump right in. And as it turns out, I just love helping people in general. And, accounting and bookkeeping is a way that I can help people. I can, help them to kind of shape their dreams. Like, people open businesses, entrepreneurs, they have a dream and a goal that they're looking forward to with their business. And I like being a part of that growth. That sort of thing really excites me. And just even the health and well-being side of it, that even plays into our profession more than people think. Because as an entrepreneur, I'm sure a lot of our listeners can attest to this, but sometimes, things can get out of control and there can be stress. And having somebody to help you navigate through those times can be a huge benefit. And that is the approach I tend to take to my bookkeeping. My customers are more than just customers to me. They're almost like part of my family, you could say. Like, I care about their businesses the same way that I care about my own. And everything starts with like a personal conversation and getting to know them as soon as they walk in my doors. So I just try to take a more holistic approach to accounting and bookkeeping.
I love it. Now, when you were growing your business, I'd love to know, what obstacles did you encounter?
Oh, there's always little growing pains. I think the biggest thing is when I started out, it's interesting, it's rolled back to the environment we have today, but I actually started out working from home on my own. Right from the get-go, I was really, really busy. And I think my biggest challenge was, being at home and then growing a business and ending up with people working from my kitchen table. That was before we're set up well remotely. But that was a challenge. I found, at a certain point, home didn't feel like home. So I really had to think about, how can I make sure that there's separation between working at home and your home life? Because and this is really relevant for right now for people too, but this is really important. Like if you can have a room that has a door on it, you can shut that door at the end of the day and just not open it, and that means work's over, super important. So that was one of my situations. I kind of mentally at a certain point was struggling with that, and I had to come up with things to kind of help me work around the feelings I was having about not having a home.
It makes sense because it quickly, even just being able to see it, it's still there. But if you can close it off or some way have a divider, it creates a natural physical way of shutting it off.
Yeah, so that was a challenge. And then the next challenge is if you're really busy, a challenge can be like working really long hours. So you have to understand that in this profession, it's very, very common to be able to lose yourself in the business. So you have to, I think right from the beginning, honestly, you should have boundaries. And I mean, they are flexible boundaries to a point, but you need to kind of think, this is my family time. This is the structure I want to keep in terms of dealing with my customers. So you kind of want to set up expectations with your customers and also respect those things for yourself so that you continue to have good mental health. And this is something I did so at the beginning, and then as time went on, I just started to become really jealous of my personal time, to the point where in 2015, I had actually put on quite a bit of weight and I was quite stressed out. And then I remember the date, it was May 25th. I actually decided enough. I'm gonna take control, and I love my work. I love helping people, but I need to take care of myself as well. And so that's when I reconnected with my health and fitness side, and that really actually helped me through a lot of the challenges of growing a business.
That's interesting. So in what way did you start to see the benefits of taking on your health? Well, how did they show up in your business?
Honestly, my business grew more. And I ended up moving into an office and actually grew into having like myself and 4 other employees. And I think a lot of that had to do with when you're taking care of yourself. I always like to say energy creates energy. So when I would exercise, at first it was kind of rough because I hadn't been as active as I had used to be in the past. But as I started doing more, it created more energy for me, and I was able to put some of that into the business. And also it made me, according to those that know me, I'm pretty pleasant most times, but it made me more pleasant. So, that little grouchy side that everybody can get was definitely put to the wayside a lot more. I'm not a grouchy person. Don't get the wrong idea. But it definitely made a difference in how I looked at things. I just looked at things differently when I'm more active. It's, important to create something. It may not be activity for some. For some, it may be another hobby. But for me, it was fitness.
That's great. And I think it's an inspiration to many to hear the benefits that it has. I mean, we hear about these benefits, in many areas of our life, but it's something that sometimes needs to tip in order to take that. For you, it was that moment on May 25th where you just said, enough is enough. And then you started. How did you start? Any advice to give in terms of if people are at that point, what's a great way to start?
Well, doing anything is a good way to start. So right now, we're having to work out at home. I used to work out at home a lot, and then I actually, in my case, I decided to get a trainer. I was able to afford that at the time. So I got a trainer, and I just followed, a diet plan, and I just start. It doesn't have to be big. Sometimes people think their goals have to it'd be like, I'm going to work out 6 times a week, right from the get-go. In the meantime, maybe they're working out once a week. Maybe a good goal, depending where you're at, you could start just with going out for lunch walks. And that's something I incorporated into my work day when I was working from home full-time. I actually would have regular lunch walks, and I still go on lunch walks today. It makes a huge difference. But just start. That's the key. And if it's overwhelming, just gradualize yourself and be kind to yourself. Rome wasn't built in a day, so you can't expect that improvements in your mental and physical well-being is going to improve in a day either. And you just kind of need to be gentle with yourself in those areas. In my case, I'm pretty gung-ho. I'm that type. So I jumped right in, and I ended up losing 60 pounds in just over 6 months. And then from that point, over 3 years, I did 7 fitness competitions for bodybuilding.
Wow. It's remarkable.
So that's kind of a personality type thing, though. You might not do that, but maybe there's something else. Like maybe you like to run, maybe you like to speed walk. That's going to help clear your mind and improve your quality of life. It's
so true. And congratulations on the remarkable results and the things that you've taken on. But I will echo that. It is for everyone and anyone that's listening right now, it's whatever it is. The common denominator is that it must, for all of us, happen. We have to take care of our physical body. Otherwise, it will deteriorate faster than we want it to. So it's proven scientifically time and time again. So I like the conversation of just doing anything, starting with something, and starting with moderation and realistic goals.
Yeah, and it's important. And if you think that doesn't play into your business, then you're wrong. The bottom line is when you're in better mental and physical health, that will translate into better customer relationships, and also people. A lot of people talk about the law of attraction. That's a real thing. When you send out positive feelings and you come across as a positive person, people do tend to be attracted to you. And, that is good on a personal level, but it's very good professionally. And customers respond to that. And as a result, like with my business, pretty much my whole business has been based on referrals from other customers. It's very rare I get a cold call. Usually it's cyclical. So, that not to be forgotten that there is a definite business advantage to taking care of yourself.
Absolutely. And most listeners who own their own businesses, they're the captain of the ship. And so what we all do as business owners for our physical life shows up in our businesses, mindset, it's really a mirror of our business. We're a mirror to our business. And so just starting something, anything, there's a book called The Power of Habit, which was written by Charles Dugwell. And the book it comes down to exactly what you're saying. It's something, creating any habit comes down to just one thing. And that one thing, it then goes out into all sorts of directions that we have no idea, but it'll impact all sorts of things like our business, other habits. But it's that one habit that then evades, I guess, into other things in our life. For you, it was you started with one thing, and that was that one thing you started doing. Now, look, you've achieved a goal of weight loss. You've competed in shows. Your business has grown, all down to that one day and that one thing. What was it that you actually started? Was it just working out with your trainer? Was that the one thing for you, or what was your one thing?
Well, interestingly, I had an injury, so working out was sometimes painful because I had a tear in my shoulder. There was like a bone spur, probably from posture, but there was a bone spur, and basically it was ripping the muscle. So I actually have been training with a kinesiologist to try to correct that, and it just wasn't working. I felt like I needed to step it up. So my original motivation was to get rid of pain, because I would go to bed and sleep on my shoulder and it would wake me up in the night. So I went looking for somebody local who I thought could be because, physio exercises to me are super boring and it just wasn't doing it for me and I didn't feel like I was progressing. So I thought maybe I could combine, stepping up my health and fitness with healing my injury. So I found a trainer who actually did that for me. And it took about a year to heal, but while I was healing, I was gaining strength and I still started, competing in fitness. So I was able to really turn my injury into something that was good for me mentally and physically. So, sometimes you think you have a roadblock, but do you really? Like we all have, even though my shoulder was hurt, my legs were operational. So there's no reason not to do something. And sometimes the answer is doing something. And in fact, for my shoulder, I was told that weight training would help it. And it did. The interesting part of this whole thing, I want to make sure I share this, is that this journey that I've had into, deeper into the health and fitness world, it's always been a passion for me, but this stepping up that I took, it's led to a few things business-wise. Like I have a specialty in the health and fitness industry, supplement industry, naturopathic industry as a result. And I actually own another business doing tanning hair and makeup for professional bodybuilding shows. And I teamed up with my trainer to do that. And then at one point, I had been the secretary-treasurer for the Bodybuilding Association, which is good for my profile. So, I didn't do it for that. But it just led to opportunities. So sometimes when we pursue a passion, it can lead to an opportunity. So it does us good. It helps others. And it just kind of makes your life more than sitting at a desk and scrolling through a couple of numbers. It kind of rounds you out.
Absolutely love that. And so interesting, when you were talking about your, finding a solution to end this pain, I just love hearing those stories because you can hear that part of you that was in search of solving the problem. And it was, I get the energy of it. It's like there was just not a question of if, more so when, like you were just on that mission to solve that. And then all of these other things come from that. So the trick, I guess, is finding that point where you can, or accelerating to the point where you make the decision to follow that passion or to take on that new thing in your life, which is sometimes the mystery and eludes many people from actually getting to that point where they actually take action.
Mm-hmm. And action's so important. I have to release it, but this COVID-19 thing came and it's been a bit nuts. But I actually was asked by one of the major software companies to make a video for stretches for the desk. So I actually did it. And with a professional videographer, and I'll have to make sure that I post that up. I just haven't gotten there yet. But that also led to actually making a connection with Kit and Ace, which is a major clothing supplier, and they helped sponsor the video along with Sage Accounting. So that was interesting.
Very cool.
You just never know. Yeah, that was really neat. I had fun. I have some outtakes. I haven't watched them yet, but they're supposed to be super funny.
I love it. I'd love to have, once you have the link ready, we'd love to put it in with the show notes so people can have a look. How have you been making out with all of this Corona, COVID?
No, honestly, it is what it is, right? I've done fairly well. Fortunately, I was well set up in the first place. So, having to send somebody home remotely and so forth isn't an issue for me because I'd already kind of been going, I'm down that road, right?
Yeah.
I had moved in that direction for many years, so no issue at all. If anything, there's just been a volume increase in terms of all the applications for these programs.
It sounds like that's the common thread.
Yeah, just navigating them and keeping up to date. And you have to be really protective of your personal time with that, because it's actually, people are quite emotional, and it's a little bit like it takes a lot out of you if you're somebody who actually cares, like, and I'm that person. So I sort of had to draw some boundaries, like, the weekend is mine.
Yes.
Nobody touches my weekend, with very few exceptions.
Yes. And did you know that would happen, or is that something that this brought on and you created a new way of being around it?
No, I've actually always not liked working weekends, but usually at this time of year I end up doing some. But I made actually a personal decision right at the beginning of this that, I needed to reintroduce that, because a couple of years ago, like I had it down. And then I had some things happen in my business last year, employee-wise, which ended up costing me time and, ultimately money. And then you find yourself slipping back into those things, the lots of overtime and stuff like that. It's just, it happens. It's the nature of the beast. So I never intended to go back to that. So the goal has always been to kind of normalize that and to delegate wherever possible, to make sure the people around me are empowered, so I'm not a choke point or having to work ridiculous amounts of overtime.
Yeah.
So, I've been fairly successful in general, but last year definitely was a bit of a backward step that way. So I was reclaiming that. So this whole thing that's went on was like my opportunity to reclaim.
Nice.
And to be honest, it's a mental health thing too, because, you're taking on other people's stuff. So my remedy for that is, if I need to work extra, that's okay. It's, tax time, and we got this thing going on. And basically, I spend extra time in the week if I need to, but on the weekend, I shut it all down. I don't look at emails. Sometimes I'll get the odd text, I'll ignore it unless it's an emergency, things like that, and just kind of make sure, that I'm getting, I really believe in getting outside and getting some exercise. I can do social distancing and still do that. So that's been kind of my way of dealing with releasing any things kind of gathered during the week.
It makes a big difference.
It does. Like, the one thing I do is I catch up on the programs, but I do it on my time. Like, if I want to listen to Dr. Bonnie Henry or, to the premier or something like that, I'll usually hit that on the weekend. Like, I do it in the week too, but usually I'll spend a bit of time on that, but only if I don't feel like it's overwhelming.
Good for you. That's great. Great that you've put in those measures and really the standards. Yeah. There's standards that you live by, and it shows up for your mental well-being.
Well, you know what? If you don't take care of yourself, you can't take care of others.
And this is a business that has a lot of that, as you said. People are emotional, they're in fear, and so that can transfer over.
Exactly.
That brings up a great question for those that are listening. They're working at their desk. We're all isolated at home. What is that exercise? What recommendation would you have to somebody who says, yeah, you know what, I could do something. I could do a new stretch. I could do a new exercise that's right here in the office or in our home office. What would that be? What would you recommend?
Well, there's so many good things. Like, one of the things I made up in the video that I did was water cooler lunges. So maybe you have a place where you have a water cooler, maybe it's your tap, but why not lunge there? So there's really small things that you can do at your desk and everywhere else that can enhance your workday. And they don't take very long. Like, the video, I did 2 sets of videos. I did one for stretching to kind of get you moving and invigorated, and then another for relaxation techniques dealing with stress. And it has some mild stretches in it as well. But those things are really good for mental health, even though they're small. And it just kind of gives you a segue from the workday. It's under 10 minutes. And it's something you can break up and do in pieces if you have to. And once you know those stretches, you can incorporate them through your day. And then you'll just find that you're able to, if you have to do a couple long days, you're able to work longer, or it puts you in a better position to not be in pain, or have, I call it chicken neck, where your neck kind of jets forward because we're sitting so long. So you can kind of avoid those postural issues, which ultimately lead to a better quality of life in terms of your general alignment of the body. So I just do something. That's the key, whether it's something you try of mine or whether you go online and you find some general stretching there. That might be where you start. Maybe you're somebody who doesn't stretch or doesn't kind of do any movement. And I do a lot of movement, but I'm horrible at stretching. I'll be the first to admit it. So I was thrilled when I did the video because it kind of put me in, I realize now as, I've kind of gotten older that I need to do this. This is not an option anymore, especially when you're in athletics, because everything gets tight and then it affects the body, and ultimately that can affect my work. So it's not a choice for me. It just has to happen.
That's right. And I would say for all of us, it will go that way without doing something about it. And there's many benefits. And you've mentioned one, which is being pain-free. I mean, taking care of our structure is going to hold off the pain. So that's an important one, because pain, being in pain affects your business in so many ways, and in just your overall life satisfaction. Yeah,
and your mental health. Because if you come to work and you have a chronic headache because you're too tight, or, you get migraines, or if your shoulder and neck are jetting forward and then you end up getting shoulder pain or upper or back pain, those kind of things make it hard to work. Because I call it being a desk jockey. So this profession we're desk jockeys to a large degree. So we need to offset that with something else, even if it's small.
Beautiful. Well, I'd love to hear. I mean, if you're listening and you've decided or made a choice to do something new, to take on something new, to start stretching, to start exercising, let us know about it. We'd love to hear and be inspired by the change that you're making in your life or have made in your life, that tipping point that you reached. Let us know about it. We'd love to hear about it. And Crystal, thank you for sharing your inspiring story and the work that you're doing and how you're getting through your business and your life. And it's been great getting to know you.
Yeah, and thank you again for having me on the show. And, I really hope that something I've said will resonate with, even if it resonated with one person, it would make me happy. I just, we're all in this together. We're all people, and we just want to see good for each other, right?
Absolutely. And is there a way, if people did want to reach out to you or find more about you, or, inquire about the work that you do, what would be the best way for them to do that?
I am on social media. I have a Facebook page under Ready Books and Consulting Ltd. And most of my stuff is under my personal name, but I actually ventured out and finally did the business. I have LinkedIn, I have for years, but I also have Instagram and Twitter. So you can reach me at Ready Books Can, C-A-N, Ready Books Canada. And anything that you're wondering or anything, I'm happy to help. Feel free to send me a message.
Beautiful. And we'll put those links, your social media links, in our show notes. So if you're listening, you can scroll down and have a look at those links and connect with Crystal. And Crystal, thank you again on behalf of our listeners for your generosity and being on the podcast today.
Yeah, thank you. And thank everybody for listening. Have a great day.
Thank you. And that wraps another episode of the Successful Bookkeeper podcast. To learn more about today's wonderful guest and to get access to all sorts of valuable free business building resources, you can go to thesuccessfulbookkeeper.com. Until next time, goodbye.
You've been listening to The Successful Bookkeeper with Michael Palmer. For more information and to download the resources mentioned in this episode, please visit us at thesuccessfulbookkeeper.com. Thank you for listening.